Gonna finish doing our oiling and checking this Kenmore over before we put the motor back on, in part because there's a door on the back here. If you get one of these and it is locked up, there's an oil hole here for dripping oil down onto this mechanism without removing the motor, but taking the motor out, you then have access to all of that motion that's hidden up under here. I'm gonna just get some oil in there while we're at it. And I'm wiggling my forward reverse link because that's what this slide that's visible does. And just give it a spin. This machine is in very nice shape for the age, and who knows where it's been. So, but now that we've used that access spot, we can put our cover back on, and this cover is sprung on here pretty tight, so you got to hold it in place when you put your screw back in. And then of course this is normally blocked for access by the motor. Oh, come on. There we go. So we got that spot before the motor went back on, and then turn this on the end and get our hand wheel clutch out and clean and lubricate that. And since this is white made, it's a backwards, it turns away from you when you're running it, but we'll get our I'm gonna give that a dip and just get it cleaned. And then we'll wipe all that since we got it off there. And here's another passage in the side that you can, with the hand wheel off, you can reach in and get some oil in. Maybe the sonic cleaner is going to be a bit quieter now. The bobbin winder here is very stiff, so apply some oil and really crank on that here for a little bit to get that worked in. There we go. Not too bad. I was afraid I was going to have to do some heavier duty work on it, but reach in here with my long neck oiler and get the thing I can spot in there that's moving, and take a minute to wipe this out. Actually, it's not too bad in there. Alright. So we'll apply fresh oil there. The hand wheel's got an inside and an outside, because this is the surface that the clutch has to work on. And there is an oil spot in the hand wheel, so you can oil that clutch area. That filthy washer just spent about 5 minutes in the sonic cleaner. With simple green, and we can see how it brightened up and got a lot of goo off there, so that's perfect. Wipe that off, and we'll add a dab of oil on that, so that there's a little oil behind that surface. And the bearing ring here with the 3 balls in it, and each ball gets a drop, and then put our hand wheel on, and work that in and tighten it. And then there's only one stopper on this hand, or on that clutch nut, so as long as we don't so it's much better odds than the 3-ear style, but there we go, and we're right close to it. Alright, so that's that. There's an oil spot here below the hand clutch that you can get a drop of oil in from the top, but I'm going to be oiling this from underneath, so I'm not going to put a drop in there. Let me and then this has a, you can only go so far backwards, but it's got a stitch limiter for 0 through 6 on that selector. Loosen that up. Take open this door and look inside it. There's an oil hole here, but again, we can take this door off if you need to. The one thing that I do not remove on these if I don't have to is the head, because the whole head has to get arranged properly to line up the needle correctly, and that's an awful lot of work if you do not have to do it. So if you're working on one of these, if it's locked up, first work around every which way you can, but don't, and that goes for like most of the white rotaries, work on it and oil it everywhere you can, but don't take the head off, the needle bar head bracket end off if you can help it. Okay. Make sure we got that the right way around. Okay. There's our tensioner. There's an oil hole on the tippy top here to get a drip of oil on top of the needle bar, and oil on top of the tension adjustment for the needle bar pressure. So just put a drop of oil on that, and all right. Time to lay this on the back and oil underneath. This is the release for the hook. So we're gonna Alright. Feed dogs are all the way up. That was the important part for that. And now pull that release and pop this sideways. I've seen some of these, they get rough around the inside here because it's chromed and then not. So this edge I'm running my finger on, if that's rough, you need to polish that up because this is a pot metal chromed casting or something. And then there's also this little groove shaped spot that can collect lint. This one's pretty clean, so that's okay. But that groove in there, right there where my thumb is, gotta make sure and clean that. And we'll pop our hook out. Hook's in good shape, nice and clean, not packed behind it with lint, because I've seen a lot of these where they're packed behind with lint because nobody takes the hook out ever. This machine was well maintained, so we'll just get a little fresh oil on everything. Little spin so that that works in there, and this machine is in nice shape. Alright, well, we'll get the motor back on it and spin it for a bit to work that fresh oil in. So two big fat motor screws, and this bracket has two positions in it. It's not a slider, it's two positions, so try to use the same position, but you can sometimes if you get a really weird shaped replacement rubber pulley for you use the other bracket, or I think this is because they use different sized hand wheels on their different models, and it was easier to have this bracket adjustable for the two sizes of hand wheels. Once we get this in, we'll mount the lamp again and plug it in and run it, and then we should be able to stitch pretty nice with this, because these are, I know I've said it before, but all these white rotaries just make such a beautiful stitch, and I'm a fan of the them because that rubber drive forces you to clean your machine instead of, you need a long screwdriver that fits the narrow slot on these heads. There we go. But again, that rubber drive tire makes you pay attention and clean your machine and oil your machine, because you got to be able to spin the machine super freely for that drive tire to run it. Like, I've had these that will barely turn, but you should be able to give a flip and get, and this one's got to get some oil worked into everything, but this one, give it a flip and get one turn. That's stiff for one of these. You should get 2 or 3 turns from a little flip like that. But I haven't hit this oil hole here at the narrow end of the neck. That's the bearing on this end of the top main shaft, and this hole directly behind the hand wheel is the bearing on the other end of the main shaft. And with some oil in those 2 holes and a little bit of running, this will oh yeah, sucking the oil right in there. Now there we go. It's already spinning a lot better than it was just a second ago.